close to 20 years, families have been changing their futures through Financial Peace University.
I started it with a bad suit and an overhead projector. I set the room for 135 people, 4 people came. And now today we've had over 1.5 million families go through this course. That's over 2 million people across this nation.
You may be wondering, what is it?
What Financial Peace University is about is a return to God's ways of handling money, but in a very practical, step-by-step game plan showing you exactly how to do it.
FPU is about learning how to control your money.
When you make these dollars behave, you're going to get this sense of power over your money that you've never, ever had. Don't move into a home with 62 debts or 6 debts or 2 debts and no money. You move into a home broke with a bunch of debt around your neck, Murphy will move in your spare bedroom, bring his 3 cousins, broke, desperate, and stupid.
Marriages are being made stronger. Couples are learning how to talk to each other about money and getting on the same page.
The closest statistical correlation to success going through this program are those that actively engage in this budgeting process, and for those that are married, they're doing it together. You change your life when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. When you get disgusted and you have that moment where you say, I've had it! I am not going to live like this anymore. We're done. We're changing this thing. Talk about the why. Talk about your dreams. Ask your spouse, what would we do? Where would we travel to? What would we buy? What would be changed if we became something as a couple where we were working together on that? Now, man, I'm sure you know this, and we've been talking about it for the last few minutes, but it's very true. Women are different, aren't they? Say yes. One of the things you may or may not know is they have a gland right in here that you don't have. It's called the security gland. And when she is feeling insecure due to money issues, that gland spasms. And it is attached to her face.
This 9-lesson, 90-minute class will challenge you.
Now, this is a boot camp. I'm your coach. And so I'm gonna make you uncomfortable sometimes. You're gonna go home and go, I don't really like him tonight. Now, if I agree with that, which would make you wrong. That's what happens when the coach coaches you, doesn't it? He kind of rubs you the wrong way. There's a little friction on there, right? I've had some good coaches, and they lit me up a time or two, but it caused me to go places I couldn't go otherwise.
Life change is never easy, but you won't be alone. You'll watch a DVD each week and discuss it with your small group. Your classmates will encourage you and help you take those first steps. You'll walk away from FPU knowing how to relate with money. You'll learn how to pay off debt and save for the future. And you'll learn how to protect your plan. We aren't born knowing everything we need to about money. We learn, and there's no better place to learn than the Word. The Bible offers more than 800 scriptures on money, and Financial Peace University is based on that solid foundation.
You are literally going to be doing things every week differently than you ever have based on biblical principles. Things like doing a budget, things like working with your spouse, things like singles having an accountability partner, things like teaching your kids so that a godly man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. It's not theory. This is actual application on everything. What would happen if the people of God started handling money God's ways? What would happen? What would happen to the kingdom of God if the people of God were out of debt?
All you need is a plan. Financial Peace University is that plan.
Follow me, child. The road is long, and the world is wide. I know this place to you is unfamiliar. In the shadows you feel so small. But I will be with you. I've traveled this path before, and I know the way. me, child. I will not promise that it's always easy. There will be scrapes and bruises, thirst and sweat and midday sun. You will at times feel weary as your burdens seem to grow. The next step may be hard to see, but I will be with you. I've been this way before, and I know the way. In my shadow, there is rest. I will not abandon you or lead you astray, because you are mine. I am with you. I've been this way before, and I know that when you see what I have seen, weariness evaporates, burdens are forgotten, and you will never regret a single step you took when you followed in my shadow.
Well, last week I started a series, well, just a small series, just two, on Follow Me. If you remember, if you were here, it's only 2 words, but it's quite direct, and it's very, very scary. Those 2 words are scary. Kind of like the video here. The little girl, the dad saying, "Follow me," and she was looking at that going, "I don't know, that don't look smart," you know. How often we hear those words from our Father, our God, our spiritual leaders that say, "Follow me," and we look at them and go, "I don't know about that." You know, and so those 2 words can be very, very scary, and they're very, very powerful. We looked at a few stories, beginning with Elijah, where he told us, if the Lord is God, then follow him. And if Baal is your God, then follow him. And but most definitely, he is telling us that we have to choose. That was his point. That we need to make our choice. If the Lord is not your God, then go follow the one that you choose, because you cannot serve 2 masters. It's an all-in thing where it won't work. The next story we saw was Elijah, and he went to Elisha and told Elisha to follow him. And to be sure, Elisha was not tempted to go back to his old life. He burned all ties to his life there. Literally burned them up. And we shared that story because for us to follow God and not keep falling back into our old life and our old style and our old ways, maybe we need to burn the bridges that we keep using to go back to that life. Then we talked about Mary and Joseph and how when they made the decision to follow God, that turned out to be bigger cost than they thought it was going to be. I mean, yes, they got to carry and raise the Son of God. What an experience. But that experience turned out to be humiliating in some ways by having to swallow his own pride. If you weren't here, meaning that Joseph had to decide if he was going to shun Mary because she's pregnant before they were married and say, "Oh, she cheated on me," or he was going to have to tell people, "You know what, that's my child and she got pregnant before we're married." Because nobody was going to believe if he walked around telling, "That's the Son of God. She's still a virgin." Nobody was going to believe that. So he actually had to swallow his pride and go, "Yeah, that's my son, and she got pregnant before married." So some of the things that we are called to do in following God might have to swallow our pride at times. Then they had to even run for their lives, literally for the cause of Christ. They had to run because Christ was to be killed as an infant, so they had to keep him alive. All of this because they chose to follow God. Never think when we follow God, everyone will be all thrilled with our choice. And hold that thought right there, because I know you were thinking, well, man, if God calls and tells us to do something, shouldn't everybody just be happy about that? Pretty much everyone in here just thought that, I know. Hold that thought, because I'm going to come back to that here in just a little bit. Because some of you are going to go, are you crazy? Some of you are going to go, but that's, well, you know, well, I just can't. Even though it's a follow me statement from God. Some of us are going to go, I just can't. And that's okay. That's okay, because we all have a place. And what will happen down the road is kind of like the Mary and Joseph thing. People ask, why did God pick them? Have you ever thought about it? And I know people have said it. Why did God pick them? They were just a lowly couple. They weren't royalty. They didn't have a kingdom. Didn't even have a place to give birth at. I mean, so why did God pick them? So there will come a thought in our mind, just like they did Mary and Joseph. Well, why did God pick them? Some of us might ask God, why are you using them? Why are you using them, God? And let me tell you what that might probably means is when God answers and he tells us, well, when I made the call to follow me, they followed. You see, God is all about choices, and we got to make them. Lastly, I shared the verses of Jesus choosing Simon and his friends to follow him, and how they walked away from their life of fishing. So, come on, people. That was a good joke. You know every fisherman's a liar. Now think about it. I mean, really. Here's Simon and his friends, and they're going and telling everybody, we just had the biggest catch of our entire life. And everybody's going, oh, wow, show me. Well, we had to leave it to follow Jesus. Oh, yeah, you had the biggest catch of your life. You bet. Yeah, yesterday you caught a fish this big, but it was oversized and you couldn't keep it. You know, so, I mean, think of the fishing stories they had. And that's what they just had to do. We just caught the biggest catch of our life, and Jesus said, follow me. But, oh, come on. Right? Right when you think life is going, God says, hey, come over here. And you're going, oh, wait a minute. Come on, God. So, how is it? Was it planned when he says, follow me, to be great fun? Very good. He's listening. Yes, ma'am. So, today, I want to talk to us and through some scriptures and go a little bit deeper into the call of follow me. You see, many people think to get religion or follow Jesus is to go to church, to sing a little, hear the Word of God, maybe see some miracles happen every now and then. To be honest, this might be the definition of the American dream of Christianity. But scripturally, this is not the definition of the Bible and follow me. Biblically, following Jesus is something entirely different. So that we all understand, following Jesus in your life looks identical to a well, following Jesus. And you say, why are you saying that? Let me tell you. Because I hear, and I guarantee you've heard this, oh, well, the church does that. The pastor does that. Our call of follow me looks identical to what the church follow me looks like. So what does the definition of following Jesus mean? And the shortest, sweetest way I can say it is this. if I am following Jesus, if you are following Jesus, if we are following Jesus, if the church is following Jesus, that means, number one, we are telling people about the salvation that he offers. Number two, if they accept it, we are discipling them to be like Jesus. And then number three, sending them to go do the same thing. It's 3 points. It's real easy. It's not a big job. It's not a big thing. It's not real deep. To follow Jesus, let me say them again, means we are telling people about the salvation that he offers, because that's what he did. He came to the earth and he was telling people about his salvation. Number two, we are discipling them to look like Jesus, and that's what he kept saying. What did he keep saying? Follow me. Look like me. Follow my footsteps. And then number three, send them off to do the same thing. Now, there's a lot of moving parts in all of that. I understand, and don't panic. To get all that done, there's a lot of moving parts there, and you're not responsible for them all. Neither am I. Nobody is responsible for them all, because we're on a team. To get this done, it takes a team. Jesus himself was the Son of God, but it took 12 personal, close ones, not to mention about the 120 that stayed pretty close to him. One of these questions, when we ask the question, what does this look like? Well, one of those questions is, how will I know it's the right thing or right person when I hear the words, follow me? How many have ever asked that and thought, well, I feel like I'm supposed to do something, but I'm not sure it was God that told me? We've heard that. We've thought that. I'm not sure it was God that told me. So that's the question. How will I know it's the right thing or person when I hear those words, follow me? So I'm going to see if this thing works here. There we go. We're going to hit all these verses. Don't panic. I'm just going to read, but they're there. You can write them down, and you can turn to them as at your leisure. So if you want to turn there to John 10, verses 3 through 5. Like I said, God didn't want to shut up whenever I sat down to do this. So I'm just going to start reading, and you, when you get there, follow along, or if you want to just go ahead and jump to the next one, that way you're ready for that one, however you want to work it. But there they are. That's what we're going to be looking at. So the question again was, how will I know it's the right thing or right person when I hear the words, follow me? John 10, verses 3 through 5. The doorkeeper opens the gate for this man, and the sheep hear his voice and pay attention to it. And knowing that they listen, he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out to pasture. When he has brought all his own sheep outside, he walks on ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice and recognize his call. They will never follow a stranger, but will run away from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. You will know his voice. Let me explain a shepherd and his voice. You see, a shepherd likes to talk. A shepherd is another word for pastor, or a preacher. A shepherd likes to talk. Let me explain this. A shepherd's job is a very lonely job. Why? Because he's out in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of sheep and that only respond with bah. It's a very lonely job. But a shepherd likes to talk. A shepherd, what you will know about a shepherd is when he's out there and he's just talking away. How many of you, don't you sit there and lie to me, you're in church. How many of you, when you're in your car alone, is talking? And sometimes it's praying, right? Sometimes it's to yourself. If you're a preacher, if you're a shepherd, I promise you, kind of like the fishermen, I promise you I have preached some amazing messages before, okay? They just never leave my truck. I don't know why. I just need to start getting in the truck and just hit record, and then y'all will get it on Sunday, you know. But anyways, a shepherd likes to talk. And so out in the field, a shepherd is always, always, always talking. How many of you know the little shepherd boy when I say who that is when I'm to say that? Little shepherd boy is King David. King David, before he was King David, he was the little shepherd boy. What was the shepherd boy? What did he do? He sung, remember? He wrote psalms. He was a singer. He was a musician. Musician. I didn't like that one. He was a musician. So he was singing with those sheep. My point is, those sheep know that voice. They know their shepherd's voice because he is always talking, he's always praying, he's always singing, he's doing something. Those sheep know his voice. So the beginning of this verses here, it says, the doorkeeper opens the gate for this man, the shepherd, and the sheep hear his voice. So the sheep are in their barn, they're in their gate, they're in their pen, and the shepherd shows up for the morning, the time to take them out, and he starts talking, and those sheep wake up because they hear that voice. And what's amazing about this and about this story, take it home, read it again. Listen, those sheep are a lot of times in the same pen, but two different shepherds. Because, I've got 100 of them, you've got 100 of them, whatever. They're all in one place. And the shepherd will show up, and the sheep will hear his voice that are his. The sheep that are still in there that have another shepherd won't pay a bit of mind to him. They don't listen at all. So that shepherd walks out. Read that story. This is what I'm saying. He walks out and the sheep follow him. Because they're listening to that voice. Because he's just talking away. Is he talking to the sheep? Doubtful. He might be. But he's just talking. He's just praying. And they are following him. Now they're out in the field. Here's another, keep going with it. They're out in the field, and he's just over here just talking away, and he just kind of decides, okay, I'm gonna come over to this other area, this other field. Those sheep are not going. Where's he going? What do sheep do? Sheep have always got their heads down. These sheep are doing this, and they hear that voice move, and those sheep will do this. Those sheep don't have to see him. They just listen for that voice, and they follow that voice. Now, sometimes two shepherds show up at the same time, and they start unloading all their sheep. And those two, they'll start talking, and all the sheep will start following them out. And whenever that shepherd decides to go over there, and this shepherd decides to go over here, those sheep will divide themselves up, following the right voice. I don't know that one. I'm not going that way. I know this one. I'm going that way. You ask the question. I think you asked it. Was it me that asked it? I don't know. How will I know if it's the right voice, the right job? You will know the voice of your shepherd. You will know it. A shepherd likes to talk. Trust me, if you'll listen, you'll hear him. He'll talk. He will talk to you. He talks to God, whatever he may be doing, but you will know his voice, and you will follow his voice. And they will listen. The sheep listen. Another question that comes to mind is, who all might say, follow me? Who else might, besides God, who else might tell you, follow me? And that's Hebrews 13, verse 7 through 8. It says, remember them which have the rule over you, who have spoken unto you the word of God, whose faith follow. Considering the end of their conversation, Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. Be not carried about with diverse and strange doctrines, for it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace, not with meats, which have not profited them that have been occupied therein. Listen, remember them which have the rule over you, who have spoken unto you the word of God, whose faith follows. So who else might tell you to follow? Well, everybody in here is pretty easy. Might say, well, you, pastor. But you also have elders in the church that will say, hey, I got a job for you. Follow me. You've also got teachers in your church that will say, hey, I've got a job. Follow me. These things, these people are the people that have spoken unto you the word of God. And he says, whose faith follow. Follow them. Jesus Christ, verse 8, Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. Be not carried about with diverse and strange doctrines. We're going to talk about that real closely here at the end of the message. For it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace. What he is saying there is that you have been strengthened with the Word of God, with the grace of God, and not, and he says here, not with meats. He is telling us that there's a lot of people that's going to want to take you away by the way you feel, or by what they're going to give you, or what they're going to tease you with, or will say, hey, look at this, don't you like this? Follow me here, let's do this, let me show you this. And he is telling you, you need to listen to the ones that have been feeding you here, not here. That's who you follow. How many remember the door-to-door salesman? I know most of you, a lot of you is way too young, but how many remember the door-to-door salesman? Man, there was a lot of things that was sold. My dad was one of them. He was a salesman, and he was a fisherman. So there you go. It makes him a salesman. So. You never knew when the truth was coming out of that man's mouth. You know, they never tell you the cost until they got you convinced to do what it is they want, right? They don't show up and tell you, this is $500. No, they come in there and they can convince you you have to have this before they ever tell you the cost, right? That's what door-to-door salesmen they are. They don't tell you the price. Why? Because it's too much. They don't really own those encyclopedias. Why? Because they're not going to look at them just like you're not going to look at them. And they cost way too much. They don't actually use them enough to pay for that kind of money. Just like we don't either. No, they don't actually own the set of steak knives they're trying to sell you, because they don't need to cut a can in half and then a shoe in half and then slice a tomato. I mean, I don't know who does that, you know? Who does that? I mean, they don't own the knives either. Why? Because they cost too much. But they want you to buy them. Walmart knives work too, people. They don't actually have that Electrolux or that Kirby vacuum either. You know, they're walking around selling it, but they don't own one either. Why? Because it costs too much. And if you bought it, you had to be a bodybuilder to carry those suckers and get them out. Anytime the ladies wanted a vacuum, they had to get the husband to go get it. Would you go get that thing? It's too heavy for me. You know, amen? I mean, they didn't own them either. My goodness. Why? Because it costs too much. So what am I doing today? I'm telling you up front that the follow me that I am asking of y'all as your pastor is going to cost. And it may be more than what you and some of us, or I even, are willing to pay at times. Let me clarify before you totally shut me down. Remember, there are many working parts in all of this. And the follow me definition, you may be saying, preacher, I'm not one to go out and tell people the gospel. I'm too scared to do that. And you may be saying, I'm not one that does the miracles. I'm not there yet. Well, my answer to you is maybe not yet. For now. So your part today may be to watch my faith. Watch your elders' faith. Remember, that's what the verse said. Watch their faith. And tomorrow, maybe it is to learn how. And the next day, practice it. And then maybe the next day, go do it yourself. Maybe, yes, maybe, it's just that you need to just listen to me today. And the other teachers here that you are sit under and grow. And then start getting your feet wet. Our Bible lesson this morning in the men's group was Israel crossing the Jordan. And God said, follow me. And they had to cross the Jordan. And if you remember the story, God stopped the water. But before he stopped the water, the people had to get their feet wet. Before he stopped the water, before he built the ball of water, they had to step out there and get their feet in the water first. Maybe we need to get our feet wet first. And then start going a little bit deeper. Maybe we need a life jacket on. That's okay. We all got to learn to swim, right? You know those encyclopedias that the salesman was selling? You didn't have to buy them all at once. But they didn't tell you that. They didn't tell you could just get one at a time. But preacher, you said it's an all-in thing, right? What that means is don't buy two different sets of encyclopedias. It means stick to the one set. Why? Because they teach different things. Each different brand teach a different thing. If it's Britannica was your choice, then make that your choice. What did Elijah say? If the Lord is God, then make him God. Don't go buy another set or different kind, different brand. So let's go back to the cost. I am a preacher that wants you to know what the cost is to follow me, to follow God, to follow your elders. So before I even try to convince you to follow, I'm going to go over these verses that we've got here and show you the cost. Well, like, preacher, that's not a good way to convince me. Well, that's what I'm going to do, okay? So Matthew 8, verses 18 through 28. Now when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, he gave commandment to depart unto the other side. And a certain scribe came and said unto him, Master, I will follow you wherever you go. And Jesus said unto him, The foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. But Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead. And when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves. But he was asleep. And his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us, we perish. And he saith unto them, Why are you fearful, O ye of little faith? Then he rose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. But the men marveled, saying, What manner of man is this, that even the winds of the sea obey him? And when he was come to the other side into the country of the Gergesenes, there met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. That's huge. Did you hear all the costs there? Now will you have to pay all those costs? I don't know. Let's look at them. What was the first one? First one was, Jesus said, if you follow me, you might not even have a bed to lay down in. If you follow me, let's go on down the line. If you follow me, what do they say? Oh, I need to go bury my father. But if you follow me, there may be times that you can't even go back to family. What was the next one? He said, if you follow me, you're going to end up in storms. The storms of life are going to come about you so much that you think you're about to die. If you follow me, you could be fearful unto death. If you follow me, he said, there's going to be times that your faith will be lacking, because he said, oh, you have little faith. If you follow me, what was the next one? I can't even remember. If you follow me, that you're fearful of even death, and you have little faith. Oh, yes. There will be times when you follow him that you'll get to see his miracles. And you'll see the storms of life come and stop. But man, look at that. Immediately after that miracle, what happened? They were battling demons. If you follow me, there's going to be times that you're going to be face to face with Satan, with demons. That's a big cost. There's a lot of cost there. That when you sit back and you think, okay, yeah, I'm all in, God, I want to follow you. But he wanted to be real. He wanted to be saying, that was what this story was about. He said, follow me. And the man said, I want to follow you. He said, okay, if you want to follow me, you need to be prepared that you may not even have a bed. You need to be prepared that you may not even be able to go back to your family. You need to be prepared that you're going to be fearful unto death at times, that your faith is going to be lacking at times, that you're going to be face to face with demons themselves. Are you ready for this? Is this a cost you're willing to pay? Will we have to pay all those costs? No, because remember, you neither are responsible for all of those follow me's. So if you are not doing all the things, then less it will cost you. It's the same in the world. the more you want to do, right? What do you got to do? Pay. It's the same in the world. I want the newer car. I want the bigger house. I want the new stuff. It costs. The more you want to experience, the more you want in this world, it costs. And it's the same with following God. The more you do, the more it's going to cost. The more you follow Him, the more it's going to cost. It might be that you don't have a bed at times, or you don't even have the time to be able to leave and go back to the family if it's a funeral. I mean, there's just no way to know. But those are the things that he listed there. Matthew 9, verses 9 through 11. And as Jesus passed forth from thence, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the receipt of custom. And he saith unto him, Follow me. And he arose and followed him. And it came to pass, as Jesus sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto his disciples, Why does your master eat with publicans and sinners? When you follow Jesus, or me, or your teacher, or your elders of this church, you will be around people that the world and even religious people will ask you, why are you with them? Why are you with them? The choices that we make will cost. Matthew 16, verses 24 through 25. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. And whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. Yes, when we tell Jesus I'm in, there is no but. I want to do what I want to do. You see, to save his life is not talking about salvation. Let me read it again. If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. To save his life is not talking about salvation. He is literally saying, here is you. What he's saying here is, Jesus, I will follow you. But just in case this don't work out, I'm going to keep this stuff over here. Remember Elisha? He didn't keep this stuff over here. He said, I'm going to follow you no matter the cost. And that's what he is saying here. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. He is saying, if you say, I follow you, Jesus, but in case that doesn't work, I'm going to keep this stuff over here on the back burner. Read the rest of it. And whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. I'm going to save all my plows and all the barn and pay someone to feed my oxen while I'm away. But Elisha didn't do that. I'm going to save this life over here if this don't work out. When we follow Jesus, he says, if you will give it up, if you will give me your life, then you'll find it. Then you will find more purpose, more freedom, more power than you could ever know. When you say, I am all in, God, I am following you, that's when you find your life. Elisha burned his past up so he would not go back and he would not follow his teacher. And he would not go, but just follow his teacher. I don't know what is ahead, but I'm going. 1 Peter 2, 20 through 21. For what glory is it, if when ye be buffeted for your faults, you shall take it patiently? He says, you do wrong, you get a spanking, and you say, I know I deserve it, right? That's what he said there. He said, for what glory is it when you be buffeted for your faults? You shall take it patiently. In other words, I messed up, yep, give me what I deserve. That's what he just said there. But listen, keep reading. But if when you do well and suffer for it. You take it patiently. This is acceptable with God. For even hereunto were you called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps. He is telling us to follow his steps, and when we do, one of the costs is suffering for doing those things that are good. That's a cost. When we do what we're supposed to do, when we follow God and we suffer for it, that's a cost. I am reiterating, if I could say that word even right, reiterating, following him will follow, or following me or your elders or your teachers, it won't be easy. In the last verse, Revelation 2:10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. He said, wait a minute, preacher. You telling me a cost of following could be prison? Yes. Tribulation time? Yes. Possibly even death? Yes. The two words, follow me, can be very scary. But the end is a crown. Look at that. The end of that Revelation 2:10. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. The end is a crown. What does a crown represent? Royalty. Royalty, ladies and gentlemen. Your God will stand you in front of a crowd of witnesses and make you royalty. When you hold out and you follow him, he will stand you there and put a crown of life on your head. Royalty is what you become. Last week I told you I ain't painting you a picture of this great road ahead. But I will paint you a picture and tell you of the beauty and rest and royalty that you become when you get to the end of the road. If you give your life to Jesus and follow him, health, wealth, and happiness preachers are liars. I'm just here to tell you. The churches and ministries that do the run around crazy, Holy Ghost filled extravaganza shows of you're healed, and people flopping down. All these churches fall on their faces at some point because life hits them, reality hits them, and they go, wait a minute, I thought everything was supposed to be beauty and fun, and no, that's not the life of following Jesus. He made it very clear. Well, I must not be a good Christian or maybe I'm not filled with the Ghost because bad things are happening. That's not what Jesus ever said. He said very the opposite. You follow me and your world may fall apart. The Apostle Paul, he kept asking for the thorn in the flesh to get out of him. Whatever that thorn was, well, the health, wealth, and preachers would have told him, well, you just don't have enough faith. Really? Paul? This teaching is what gets people out of church, really, instead of keeping them in. I'm telling you, the cost is high to follow your spiritual leaders. And the more you follow him, the more it costs. And the more Satan will attack. Jesus, when he gave his life to the ministry, who was the first person that attacked him? First person on the scene when Jesus finally said, here I am, Satan attacked. When you say, here I am, Satan's going to come after you. That's one of the costs. You will learn over time as you follow, if I do this, it's just the cost of time. But if I do this, it costs this, and it's going to hurt here, and it's cost here. You'll learn over time, am I ready to pay for this? You will be able to make those decisions as you follow. Am I ready for this cost? Am I ready for this attack? And you will be able to learn that the end of the road was worthy of the cost of the journey. The end of the road is worthy of that cost. I want to share with you the calling of Follow Me on the life of our church as a whole and as individuals. This Follow Me will cost different people different amounts. Some of you it will cost time and some more than others. Some maybe even money and some none at all. Remember, the cost is how much you follow. Also remember, when we see God using people that we question, well, why are they using them? Maybe it's because they answered the call of Follow Me.